Hey everybody, Amy here with Garden Up, and today what I'm going to show you is how to plant something that's so root bound that the roots are coming out the bottom of the pot. So this is a whole different strategy as far as how to get it in the ground and keep a healthy plant. First you have to, so I've already dug my hole. I've got another plant up here that was also quite root bound, but not as bad as this one. So this is a Giardia, also called goblin flower, blanket flower, lots of things, really pretty little flower on there. It was quite root bound, and I had to basically tear it all apart so that the roots would come out. Otherwise they will just keep growing in this pot shape, and the plant itself will not get nutrients. It'll starve and die because it'll get so root bound in the ground. So this is a Coreopsis. Same thing, it's super root bound, but this one's so root bound that it's going to be a challenge just to get it out of the pot. If it doesn't come out with some squeezing and some work like that, take your hori-hori or some other tool, and you're going to have to cut these roots loose. They're coming out through the drainage holes, so what you need to do is cut around each hole and remove all that extra root mass. There's nothing wrong with buying a root-bound plant. You just have to know how to take care of it and how to plant it correctly so that it can expand and grow for many years to come. Remember, hold under the soil. There it goes, pops right out. So now this is so root bound under here. You can see how tightly those roots are packed in there. So I'm going to pull them apart gently but firmly. Pull the root mass open because I want the ends of the roots to come out. I'm also going to massage the sides, and just rubbing around on the sides gets all these side roots loose and free. I have had plants that I had to actually rip this whole bottom part out because there was just no other way to get the roots loose. But this one, that won't be the case. This is going to be a very healthy plant. Back and forth a little bit with my hands, and now the roots are starting to come up and out, and they'll grow in the right direction. Voila! Still goes in, planted at the right depth. This is a steep slope, so it's a little bit tricky. This bank is higher than the plant, this one's lower than, so I want it to be level with the lower part. Put a mound in the center so you get good contact. There we go, perfect. So the top of this root ball is now level with the bottom of the slope. Fill in with the dirt, native soil. You could amend with compost too, but this is super nice soil. The native soil is beautiful, so I'm not going to worry about amending. And the other thing about doing that, one school of thought from permaculture is that if you dig a hole and you fill it with compost and then you put a plant in it, why does the plant ever need to leave that hole? It'll actually create looser or a less healthy plant because the roots will stay in that nice rich compost instead of venturing out into the native soil to search for nutrients. So if I've got good, healthy, rich soil like this, I'm not going to amend with compost. But this soil is absolutely beautiful, it's just a little rocky. Planting this part flat, and since I'm on a slope, I'm actually going to make a little moat to catch water and hold it on the plant instead of just running right off the slope. And I'm even going to use all the rocks that I dug up to reinforce that little moat. There we go. Just like that. Now we'll water it in with everything else and we'll have a gorgeous healthy plant, despite being root bound when we bought it. So here it is from the other side. It's nice and level. I have my moat. The water will sit in here and stay. The rocks help hold up the soil so it doesn't erode quite as badly. And that will grow into a very nice healthy plant. So this little plant here, this is a ligularia, and it was in the pot incredibly root bound. I could not keep this thing from wilting to save my life. I had to soak it in water and put a tray under it, and it still just kept wilting. And so we finally just planted it because it wasn't going to be any good for a client. I didn't want to risk. So I had one of my workers put it in my yard and it still just wasn't thriving. So I dug it up to see what was going on, and he had scruffed up the roots a little bit, but not enough. And the water just was not getting into that root ball. So what I did was I dug it up and I put it in a bucket of water and I've soaked it. It's now been in here for almost 24 hours. It's completely come back. The leaves are nice and turgid and perky and happy. I'll take off these dead ones, but other than that, the plant itself is fine. I also filled the hole with water and let that soak and percolate down. And so what I'm going to do now is, now that it's loose enough, the moist root ball is going to actually be able to come apart so I can get the roots out. And so I'm going to loosen up the roots. I'm going to dump this whole bucket of water in the hole, and then it should be able to get the moisture and the nutrition that it needs in order to continue to thrive. And so that's how you fix a root-bound plant that wasn't planted right. So hopefully we plant them correctly in the beginning, but you know, this is how to fix it if it's done. Also, you could just start by doing this. If you've got a really root-bound plant that just, you can't get those roots out of the ball, soak it in water for a bit. Just fill a bucket and soak it, and then it'll help to loosen up that root ball so you can get it apart. Okay, so here we go. So here's the plant in the bucket. Okay, you don't want to soak it for too long. A full day is probably a little bit much because it'll start to get root rot and other things. This thing is so root bound, it's still not coming apart. So we're just gonna start tearing it open because the roots need to come out. So, put a little bit in, hold the plant up for a minute. Really get it settled in there. The flowers are done, so I'm going to take those off too. Thing is, if this was pollinated, and these flowers were going to go to seed, then this plant would spend all of its energy available getting its seeds made, and it would not put any energy into the actual plant itself or the root growth or anything like that. So leaving the flowers or seeds on a plant that you just put into the ground is sometimes detrimental to the plant. So if you see a new plant struggling, but it's got seeds on it, take the seeds off. Let it get established before it's allowed to make seeds. The rest of the water, put it in. Now I've made a moat to help hold the water right on the plant where it's needed, and that'll percolate down in and help the plant get established. That was the other problem we had before, is the way it was planted was a slope, so there was nothing to hold the water on the plant. And with new plants especially, they've got to have the water so that root can get going. We planted this over here at about the same time. Well, exactly the same time actually, but it wasn't root bound, and it's doing fine. It's even got new growth down here. So this one's happy and has been since I picked it up at the nursery. So as a comparison, this was an excellent comparison of just what being root bound will do to a plant and how bad it is. So I'm going to go ahead and take these off though, because again, they're done. It's been a couple days now, and you can see that this guy has rejuvenated itself. The leaves are nice and perky and turgid again. This leaf is about ready to be gone, but it even has some new growth at the base that it didn't have the other day. There's the other one that was happy before. So these can be brought back even after they've been pretty close to the end for these poor plants, but it's doing much better now. So I hope you liked that video and that you learned something of value to you. If you did, remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get notifications when I post. So, like the video, and I will see you in the garden.